Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is our second edition of Carry On, a podcast discussing issues relevant to veterans and those who care about them. Carry On is brought to you by Nation's Finest. At Nation's Finest, our mission is to support America's military veterans and their families with a comprehensive approach to housing, health, and employment that helps them achieve self-sufficiency and reach their full potential. With more than 30 locations in 14 communities in California, Arizona, and Nevada, each year we provide critical services and support to more than 3,500 veterans and their families. I'm your host, Mark Miller, Army veteran and Communications Director for Nation's Finest. In today's episode, our guest, Marine Corps veteran Matt Webb, is going to talk to us about life after the military, with all of its ups and downs. Matt has dedicated the last 12 years of his life to serving our nation's veterans, and he is constantly seeking new ways to improve relations through strategic communications and outreach. After serving 4 years in the United States Marine Corps and 5 years as a college athlete at the University of Louisville, he relocated to Washington, D.C., where he now is helping to serve his fellow veterans in the D.C. area. His mission has gone from serving his country, ensuring our nation's heroes get the best treatment and information available. Matt carries a master's degree in public relations from Georgetown University and previously won an Orange Bowl championship with the Louisville Cardinals football team in 2007. Being educated and working in the field of outreach gives him the distinct advantage of communicating with various audiences, focusing on public speaking and building relationships and strengthening partnerships. So, Matt, we are excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Mark, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be a guest here discussing critical issues with my fellow veterans and all those who help and care for veterans. So thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. So, based on a little bit of what we just talked about there, you've experienced a lot since you left the Marine Corps. But before we get into that, could you reflect with us a little bit on how you look back at your time in the Marine Corps and how that shaped who you are today?
Absolutely. The Marine Corps, as many people know, is the smallest branch out of all the branches within the Department of Defense. It was probably the most challenging life experience that I've had yet to date. I enlisted at the age of 17. Fresh out of high school, thinking I was just the cat's meow, going into Marine Corps boot camp, and boy, did they humble me. Probably some of the most challenging life experiences, dealing with adversity for the first time in my life, dealing with challenges that you have to overcome with a fellow Marine. The life skills that were taught to me at such a young age, I think helped shape and develop who I am today. And I'm grateful for that. But boy, those were some tough times going through, Marine Corps infantry. I was in one of the most decorated infantry battalions in the Marine Corps, was 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, stationed out in Camp Pendleton. And there were some great times. There were some tough times, to sum it all up. But I think just the basic skills of organization, leadership, decision-making, dealing with adversity, as I mentioned earlier. All of these things, I didn't know it at the time because I was so young and inexperienced, but I think it helped shape me as I moved out of the Marine Corps into the civilian workforce. And I think it still shaped me to the person I am today. So, that's just kind of, my experience in a nutshell. There was a lot of great times, great memories. I've made some great friendships, as you know, Mark, with the people you've served with that are going to last a lifetime. I still talk with the guys I served with, the family members who supported the Marines that I served with. I maintain relationships with them. So probably one of the best career decisions of my life.
Well, that's great to hear that you look back on it so positively, despite that adversity and challenge, like you referred to. Going on that a little bit, your life now as a civilian, in my view, you've really thrived. And I would explain what I mean by that in more detail, but I think former Vice President Mike Pence summed it up better than I could. So I want to share here for a moment and take a look at his remarks from Veterans Day 2019. So I'm gonna share this real quick.
So we remember those who served in combat. But on this Veterans Day, we also do well to remember that our veterans' contributions to our country continue long after you come home. They continue to serve our country in civilian life. You lead in business, in education, in law enforcement, and public service at every level. And wherever you go, you do what you always did when you were serving in uniform. Our veterans show the same sense of duty and courage that defined your years in the armed forces. For a veteran of the United States Armed Forces, service doesn't end when they hang up the uniform. Service is a lifelong calling. Like a Marine sergeant who joins us here today. During his time in uniform, he was an 81 millimeter mortarman, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. But after he came home, went to college, played a little football, played in the Orange Bowl, got a master's degree, and then joined the VA. And for the last 10 years, he has worked tirelessly to fulfill the words of our nation's 16th president, to care for them that shall have borne the battle. So would you join me in thanking Sergeant Matt Webb for a lifetime of service to America. Thank you so much, for working with me.
So, sorry about that. So, Matt, I have to ask, after having seen that clip before and watched it again just now, I think the question on all of our minds is, what was that like, being recognized at that level and on Veterans Day?
Oh, Mark, I appreciate you showing that clip. You know, being recognized by the 48th Vice President of the United States was an honor like no other. I didn't know any of this was coming. Some members of his staff reached out to me before asking, just a little bit about this, saying they were going to recognize some veterans. I thought it was going to be a group of veterans were going to be honored on Veterans Day. And when I was on stage, all I heard was, we've got a Marine sergeant here, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Great. They're recognizing a Marine, a fellow Marine, and he played college football, and I'm like, wow, this guy played college football too. This guy sounds a lot like me. We got a lot in common. I can't wait to meet this person. And then when he said my name, I just got so red, and I was shaken. I was embarrassed. There were so much emotions going through my mind because I had no idea any of this was happening. My grandmother was actually watching the ceremony from her rocking chair. And she told me that she had fallen out of her chair when the vice president announced me up on stage. I mean, talk about something that I plan to share with my grandkids one day. I mean, it's just something that I'll never forget. Just growing up in a small town in the state of Oregon to where I'm at now, I'm just so grateful and blessed with the abilities, which I don't think are too exciting. I'm just a guy who shows up to work every day. I try hard. I care about my job. Just these small, and I show that I care and I want to deliver on what I say. I mean, just doing these basic things, I think, is what's gotten me to where I'm at today. And we can go into this a little more, but I mean, what a great day to be honored and recognized on Veterans Day. Time to honor the men and women who have served this country. Will definitely go down in the Webb family archives for generations.
Well, I can certainly understand where family members and loved ones literally may have fallen out of their chair to have seen that. Very, very cool, and so happy to have seen that you got that recognition.
Thank you.
You certainly earned that recognition, and in my personal opinion, you embody what the former vice president talked about: continuing to serve after taking off the uniform. So anyone who's enjoyed the level of success that I think you embody, and a lot of our fellow veterans embody, we all know you don't get there without running into obstacles and challenges along the way. Could you share with us a challenge that you faced in civilian life after leaving the military, and maybe quickly what you had to do to overcome that challenge?
Sure, Mark, and I appreciate those kind words. For veterans who are watching this, watching this show, a lot of them will say that the toughest thing to do is transition out of military and convert those skill sets that you've learned into the civilian world, because they are both hugely different monsters themselves, and trying to adjust into the new world was probably one of the biggest challenges I had. And to be honest, I don't think I did it, magnificently. I think I struggled. I went to college. I tried hard to get a scholarship. I showed up to a junior college in 2002, rode the bench my first year playing college football. Didn't see any playing time. My second year, I worked hard enough to make a starting spot as a long snapper. I put together a VHS tape, even though I was, not getting a whole lot of playing time, not the superstar on the team. And I put out a highlight tape just showing what I could do. And I made, I think, 90 VHS tapes at the time. This was back in the day before YouTube and streaming video and stuff like that. I was hustling to the post office, shooting off videos, making phone calls to colleges, trying to make a name for myself. And I heard a lot of the same words, which was no. And I think one of my recommendations for people who are trying to be successful in the civilian world after military life is embrace the word no. It's okay to hear the words no, we're not interested. No, thanks, but no thanks. I heard it 89 times when I was going through the college recruiting process. So I essentially was 1 for 90 in getting a college football scholarship. So if I was a baseball player, that would have been a terrible average, right? But just trying to get a college that believed in me to play college football, that was a challenge in itself. But I just put on thick skin, and I just kept trying hard. And I think a lot of veterans will find themselves when they're job hunting, trying to find that next career. It's normal to go through that. And I think when you go through that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really negativity, but, the constant, walls that you face, obstacles, adversity. When you go in that deep valley, I think that's really when you find yourself and really pick yourself up. And as veterans know, I mean, most veterans were warriors. We see ourselves as winners, people who are positive, strong. And it was nothing but after I'd gone through that, I took the high road, and I just kept going, and I never looked back. Got to the University of Louisville. They were an okay football team. When we got there, my sophomore year, we ended up winning the conference, going to the Liberty Bowl, played in the Gator Bowl, Orange Bowl, winning the Orange Bowl. I mean, I think we only had 3 or 4 losses at the time. My entire career at Louisville, we were a solid football team, and I got to play a lot against a lot of the coaches who turned me down. And I think in most times we ended up beating them. So that was a pretty good feeling. But I think it was, learning about yourself and really what you can absorb and bounce off you and move forward. I think that's important for veterans to know that it's okay to face adversity, but you're strong enough to get through it and just keep on trying. The only reason I'm at where I'm at today, and I'm working for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, is because I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I just wanted to share that those basic key ingredients to being successful is it's okay to hear no. Believe in yourself. If you think you can do something, you're probably right. And if you think you can't, well, you're probably right too. So I thought I could, and I won an Orange Bowl. Got recently recognized by our 48th Vice President of the United States, and I'm in a career and job that I love, and I see myself doing for the foreseeable future.
Matt, that's such an inspiring story, and thank you for sharing that. I especially love what you say about being 1 for 90. 89 rejections, one said yes, and then out of that experience, you're an Orange Bowl champion. I mean, I can't say that. Most people can't say that. So that's a great example right there of, hey, you took a lot of rejection to get to that one. And I think some of our fellow veterans out there can identify with that. Maybe not trying to play college football, but getting rejected to academic programs, not getting a call back on those 50 job applications you put out last week, whatever it may be, hearing that rejection and continuing to put your shoulder down, plow forward and say, no, I'm going to get where I want to be, regardless of who says no, because I'll find someone who says yes. That's great advice. So
you put it together eloquently, Mark. I just thought, the doubters, because there were doubters along the way in my journey, and I just said, go wait in the car and watch me do this. And football happened to be my thing. You could be into building engines, working in music, show business, writing, whatever skill set you can apply that mentality to and be successful at it. I think there's a famous actor who was a Marine Corps veteran. I think he was in the Star Wars movies. He was in some other big time movies. I think he went through some rejection starting off in his life, and now he's in Star Wars movies. So, I mean, anyone can do it. If you just think you can do it and have that attitude, I think you're going to go on to do great things.
I think that's great advice to give our fellow veterans. And I'm so happy and grateful that you came and shared that with us today. So, Matt, once again, thank you for joining us today.
And thank you, Mark. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to all the veterans who serve, continue to serve, and all the family members who help veterans move on in their journeys in life.
Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you to all of us for joining us again today, and for supporting us here in our second episode of Carry On. And please remember, if you are a veteran who needs help or would like to donate to our cause, you can visit nationsfinest.org or call 833-468-9676. Again, that's 833-468-9676, or you can find us at nationsfinest.org. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great day, and as always, carry on.